Yeah, it's on, yeah. Welcome back. He's the technical director, just walking back in.
Hi there, yes. Just making sure everything's working
in true Strictly fashion, we have now finished. You can see, look, you know, and we've done Christmas. We've had a great Christmas. Thanks ever so much, everybody.
The camera.
Oh yeah. I keep forgetting to look at the camera. So this is in Strictly fashion. It's we're back here. We're gonna have something to eat now, and just finish off the Philip Smith saga, really. Let me serve it up.
I've got to say that looks great. Yeah. I mean, for those that are watching this and viewing this, we are right in the middle of Strictly, actually, on the telly, and we've taken our break. We've come up with the results now, and this is the week, unfortunately, that Tony Adams just left the weekend, which I followed Tony. I thought he did a great job, and well done to him for giving it a go. This looks great, mate.
So we just on last episode I talked about Philip Smith, and Dave asked some great questions, really questions that lots of members of the public ask all the time, and rightly so, because if you don't know the criminal justice system, it's sometimes frustrating and complicated. And if anybody got any questions for us, I'm sure Dave we can give the email out, and you ask us what you want to ask us at any time, please do, and we welcome those sort of questions, really. So
we'll actually put up a Twitter account, so you'll be able to find our Twitter account on the bottom of the links when we put it up, when we put these up onto YouTube, actually.
Oh, no, Dave, it's not bad, is it? That is lovely.
It's pretty good.
Get some paella cooking, don't you? It's fantastic. Nice.
You've got to get used to looking to the camera more.
I keep looking the wrong way.
We've got a monitor over there, so just to see how we do, because we did a number of pilot shows of this, and they were a total disaster from a sound perspective, a vision perspective. So we tried to set ourselves up a little bit better, but we just can't get used to looking directly at the camera.
But we're very family orientated people. We got quite big families, and there's nothing better than us than sat around with our families eating. That's it. It's not expensive food. It's there's enough there to feed. In fact, I've got some big pans here. Anybody wants any cooking doing for them? We're quite happy to go out and we'll go and cook a paella for you. We can do from 10 to 40, whatever you want.
We might even throw in a bit of guitar playing and have a sing song.
Yeah, that's right. So Philip Smith, went to Leicester Crown Court and pleaded not guilty, and his barrister she had a very difficult job, because he's a man who's just not instructing her, whatever. She's got to defend somebody who's pretty undefendable in some respects, I suppose, given the evidence, and they would be fully aware of the evidence. So what's his defence when he's clearly overwhelming evidence, forensic evidence against him? So I have to give evidence for the prosecution, and I'm stood in the box, and I am accused of planting basically the blood or the DNA of 3 victims over his boots. And I mean, it sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? If I didn't know these people, but I'm accused of that. And I think it's part of his defence just to put an element of doubt in, and clearly it was ludicrous. And but it's a lonely place when you're in the witness box.
I can imagine
people,
it is.
Even police officers, and if anybody really, it is a lonely place, and especially when defence barristers and solicitors start asking you really sort of, awkward questions, as they do.
Well, they do. I mean, they are brilliant at asking the difficult questions. And what really annoys me is, when they don't give you the opportunity to answer back fully. They only want a snapshot of the answer they want to hear. Or that's how it appears, anyway.
I know. I got some barrister friends and they're really good people, lovely people, but barristers only ask you the questions that they know the answers to. So, in my opinion, of course, Anyway, so he got convicted. He got minimum terror for 35 years. That's what 21 years ago now. So he got another 14 to go until he even can apply for parole. But I would very, very much think that won't happen. In my I have no right, But yeah, and I'm going to go back to the families really. These three victims have families and friends, and the ripples go out. Those what happened to their loved ones. Would affect the whole of their lives all the time.
Forever, won't it?
Our victim, she had 3 young children. And it was horrendous. So you got to think of that all the time. He's a murderer. He was an evil person. He is an evil person. That's the end of it. That's it. And good job he's locked up. Yeah.
But just to go back to some of the detail really of how you ultimately caught him and captured him. Yeah, I'm aware that every industry has their processes, procedures to follow, as we mentioned in the last episode. But in the police force, there's specific systems and processes, isn't there, to follow? And obviously, you're held to account against those as well.
They're there to help us. So, Holmes is our Home Office large major investigation system. Pardon me if I got that slightly wrong. So it's basically a computerized system. So all the information goes in, recorded. Somebody looks at it. It doesn't automatically throw out all the, what you should do, you shouldn't do, because there's a person part of that system who says and does that. But what it does is it records everything and allows you to search, record. So let's say in relation to Philip Smith, there would be probably thousands of calls coming in. I mean, literally. Hundreds and thousands of people ringing in. Oh, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've done this. I know him, I know her, I know this. Well, it's coming in, the information, the intelligence, information. Some of it's relevant, some of it isn't. But you thank the members of the public for even making the call, It's coming in and it's massive. You've got to filter through it. And it might be, and sometimes there's so much information that the incident room has got the information weeks, months before, but it's there. Be looked at, to be sifted, and to be prioritised, and that. And there's a massive backroom staff doing that. Huge.
And I think that's a lot of people, certainly myself, don't actually realise or understand that. Because you see the people at the forefront of it, and it looks on the face of it a handful of people, don't you? Unless you see there's a big massive search going on and things like that, of course. But
I suppose you're right, David. Probably not appreciation sometimes of how much in the backroom staff is going on. It's number crunching. It's going through everything meticulously. And I worked with some great document managers and incident room managers. I mean, one particular brilliant. And I'll mention his name, Dick Purcell. He won't mind me mentioning it. Great bloke. He was just brilliant. He was in charge of that and knew about major crime and murder. And he was just like. If Dick was there when you went into a major incident, a major investigation, you're like, it was like him. We talk about working with people.
Yeah.
But when you've got somebody like him working in that backer, you knew that you'd be the best. I'm not saying it'd be he was just, you knew that you were going to get the best.
Yeah.
And he was good. He's a good bloke.
Yeah.
Good bloke. Hello, Dick. Yeah. But and you're not going back to people staffing it and people working with people you trust and know and are really good at their job, and it makes a difference, doesn't it? Makes a difference, massive difference.
It absolutely does. But you mentioned about the home system, and obviously West Mercia and West Midlands were acting together in this particular crime, and so they. My recollection actually was that there was two. They were both on homes. There was one on Homes 1 and one on Homes 2.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
And
Homes 2 come in like a different version, basically, of Homes. You come in, but West Mid's been a bigger force and got it quicker than West Mercia. So we were still working on Homes 1. Same system, but and then because we had to pick up that, and we had to. And this is where backroom staff are brilliant, because they're converting it from 1 to 2 and trying to interlink things and disclosure. And I'll talk about disclosure. I won't cover it this time, but disclosure to you've got to disclose everything really. If need be, it's an issue because when there's thousands and thousands of documents, some are important, some aren't. You've got to go that, and you have to disclose those potentially to the the defence.
Yes.
But there's thousands and thousands. It's a massive job. We have this whole disclosure officers. That's all they do. They just look at all the documents and decide what's what and what's what. And
I mean, maybe this is one for a discussion on a future episode, but just a little snapshot. You see these barristers, solicitors, and their entourage walk into courtrooms with boxes and boxes of stuff sometimes, or into their offices or whatever. I mean, realistically, do they read all of that?
Well, somebody does. Well, what they'll rely on is the disclosure. So they'll say document A talks about this, and this. It's of no relevance. So I mean, you couldn't physically read everything. Somebody does, but the defence rely on really the prosecution giving them what they want to know. And there's big strict rules around that. You can't just hold stuff back. The police and prosecution fell foul of that years ago because they didn't disclose. We can't disclose that because that looked very good, And of course that's why laws change, and rightly so. The country isn't perfect, but it's got better and better.
Yeah,
thankfully, really.
Because I mean, the reason why I wanted to just mention that about the Homes 1 and Homes 2 systems is because I know all too well how the merging of systems can go wrong, and in my world it's bad enough, but when you're investigating a big murder where this is talking about people's livelihoods and they need answers and whatever, the potential for things to go wrong is huge.
And we read it,
and so I mean, it was quite a masterstroke actually to be able to do that. There's two separate forces, two slightly different systems that need bringing together, and to be able to come to the right conclusion and get the answer, I think is like credit to the force.
You could see where things could go horribly wrong, just through disclosure, not through persons, guilty or not guilty. The fact that somebody's found not guilty because of first of all, the one thing is found guilty when they're not guilty. Let's be honest, that's the worst case scenario, and I've never been involved in anything like that. But when you've got a guilty person who finds guilty, that's very, from a public point of view, it's very damning and that. But the system's a system, you've got to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Not on the balance of probabilities, all reasonable doubt. You be sure that you're sure, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yes, I do, because you have, we've all heard of instances where people have been found guilty incorrectly.
Yeah,
it has happened, and maybe, I mean, we've got so many things that we can talk about on this subject that will create future episodes and to discuss. But just for this episode, what I would be interested in homing in a little bit more on is the fact that you were accused of planting evidence in this particular case, and just randomly threw that in when obviously anybody with half an ounce of brain would know from the evidence presented that couldn't have happened, but nevertheless you had to face that in court. So just talk me through what that was like, and how they come to that, how you ultimately convinced them that didn't happen. I
suppose the biggest thing is that I didn't know it was coming. We didn't know it was coming. I went to give my evidence about interviewing Philip Smith for 3 days and going through all the interviews, which took a long time to go through, and and then all of a sudden you stood there and you're accused of planted evidence, and I suppose probably my reaction would probably say, this is like unreal, surreal, but you've still got to question.
That was like, you've got to have a certain strength of character in that, because I mean, my immediate reaction to that would be, shit, what's all this about, and there'd be an element of me which would go into a little bit of panic, but also there would be a strong element which would really annoy me and make me angry. But I guess if you start to get angry in the witness box, it actually goes against you. But
it could do, I mean, juries, I mean, it was a shot in the dark from the defence, I suppose. They had nowhere else to go, and they thought, well,
let's give this a go, right?
And of course the answer is no. You just go, no, that's not true.
So did you actually have to prove it in any way, or did they accept the fact that no, it's not true?
No. All we had evidence was, the forensic evidence was that there was the DNA, the blood of 3 victims on his shoes, and it was blood splattering. we can talk about that again, different things. And in the future, we might be able to get some forensic experts in, because forensic moves on so closely. My wife was a senior crime officer, retired, finished that some time ago, but things move on so good, and forensic evidence is getting better and better. You can bring the experts just about blood splatting, So what they said to me was that I got a fountain pen, and put the blood of the victims in the fountain pen, and then sprayed it on the shoes.
Right. And this was a reputable barrister who said this.
Well, very reputable. I mean, they just. As I say to her, she's a very, very good barrister, and she's got nowhere to go. She's got to try and defend her client the best way she can, and she's got nowhere to go with the fact that, or he hasn't, that the forensic evidence was compelling and overwhelming. Yeah. So how else do you explain that? So okay, let's have a go at the cops. So they planted it, It was bizarre, really, wasn't it? It was bizarre. In fact, and our barrister, when he
moved across, a little bit more of this, you carry on talking. So this is really good.
This was a bit of a courtroom sort of drama, really, because Philip Smith gave evidence. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And he would decide to give evidence and denied it. And our barrister, very good barrister, starts to cross-examine him and put him under a bit of pressure. He hadn't really got wound up anyway. Philip Smith then suddenly bursted out, I did it.
Right.
He admitted it.
Right in
the middle of the courtroom. You could not hear a pin drop. It was...
So I bet that was, they would have never said about it, of course, but that barrister that had just accused you of...
It's a bit of a game, a bit of a theatre, really, Crown Court, but so he turns over and goes, I did it. Well, in law, once he's under cross-examination, he's not allowed then to go and speak to his barrister again until the end of the cross-examination, unless in certain circumstances. His barrister stands up and said, can I speak to my client again? So the judge has to give permission for her in this case.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to close it down. My client's admitting murder. Because she obviously now, he's admitted it, she can't defend him, you see. Because he's always denied it to him. Under the law, she can't defend a person who's lied to her.
Yeah.
So anyway, the judge gave permission for her to speak to him again. Then so they took him down the cells and interviewed, and she spoke to him. He came back up and he admitted it. But he rolled over. It was a good end to it, really. For the victims as well. We talk about endings, don't we? Talk about this. This is a horrendous crime.
Yeah.
But eventually they would have got some comfort from the fact, I did it. As opposed to, I never did it. I didn't do it. It was overwhelming, but it was one of those. That was it. That was in the Philip Smith.
Well, I think one thing we haven't touched on in this is that actually there was 3 victims in this, weren't there? There was one that was within your jurisdiction and 2 that was in the West Midlands jurisdiction, but the actual case was tried as one.
Yes.
And so you would have had all of the 3 victims' families in the courtroom at that time, so they would have all felt, I don't know whether sense of relief or whatever would have been the right terminology, but...
I do think of that family we dealt with, because we looked after them, and they came from Birmingham. They're all Birmingham people. The effect, it's incomprehensible, really, to think, and the 3 little kids. And Dad brought up the kids, and and that's 21 years ago. So I really do hope that they've gone on to do good things and they're okay, and because it's.
So how many years ago, roughly, was that?
21 years.
21 years, was it?
Yeah, 2000.
Right.
Yeah, Poppy Day Murders, November. Yeah, November 2000. But
and I mean, a horrendous crime like that, it just never leaves you, I would imagine, when because you would get immersed in that. I mean, in terms of timescale, because obviously you wrapped up the crime itself, but there's ongoing closure of that particular case. What does sort of timescales are involved in something like that?
Well, they usually say most murders about a year, most major crimes about a year. That's a bit of a general footprint, but so that took, I suppose, my a year, 18 months, I suppose, of my
of your time,
complete time. It took all that time because it took a long time to put the file together. Funny story is a pretty funny story. Not many funny stories. So the Crown Prosecution Service, who obviously oversee the prosecutions and make the decisions around prosecutions and that. So CPS in Birmingham were the oversaw the whole the whole lot, and I don't know if they're still there now. And their offices were on floors 12 and 13 of a big high-rise office block in the middle of Birmingham. And you won't mind me saying this. Phil Statey was the lad who I interviewed Philip Smith with for 3 days, and we had to take over all our paperwork, all our file, 2 massive boxes over to Birmingham, take some stuff over. It wasn't a whole lot, but we had to take this particular day. So we get into the lift at the bottom, and up we go. Unbeknown to both of us, but especially Statey, is when we go just up a bit, this lift is on the outside of the building looking out.
Right.
It goes up really quick. Statey's got a bit of vertigo. He loses the plot, falls over, comes in the state. The files go everywhere, the papers everywhere. We get to the 13th floor, and the doors open, and then there's me crying with laughter and Statey in a white state because he... Yeah, we didn't go down the same lift on the way back.
No, I must admit,
I went down the stairs.
I don't like heights and things like that myself, to be honest. But,
so what should we talk about next time?
Well, I think one of the things that I'd like to home in on is like the policeman in the witness box and in the courtroom. Because there's things there that I'd like to do. I mean, we've got lots of crimes and investigations that's been undertaken, which we'll talk about throughout the series.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be really interesting certainly for myself, and I'm sure for a lot of the public, to understand what it's actually like in a courtroom from a policeman's perspective. And we'll home in on some of that, some of the juries, some of the behaviour, some of the things that do and do. I personally haven't been in a witness box. I have been a member of a jury, and I was the foreman of a jury, which was in a reasonably interesting case at the time. And it was it is an interesting place to be, I think. And,
it's a lonely place.
And we'll home in on that. But for now, I think we've had a lovely chat, a nice beer, and some gorgeous food there. I would definitely recommend this for anybody that wants to make a paella. It's superb, really tastes well. So well done for that.
Mentioned earlier, anybody wants to ask any questions or know about any particular things at all? Wants to discuss anything, whether it be crime, international road building around the world, then just drop us a line and we'll try and help you out. And anyway, if you want to come and speak to us and have a bit of food with us, you're happy to come in. Anybody wants to come in?
Please come in. We will be running some competitions along the journey as well. We'll be having some guests on the show to engage and interact and ask some questions of their own, and the conversations will go where they lead us. But for now, thank you very much for your time.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year 2023. Take care.
I'll do my director's bit now.
Yes. Just noise today. This was fantastic. This was. I'm sure they're getting better.